Andy Roddick points out what's crazy impressive about Alexandra Eala following her Australian Open exit. Alexandra Eala wasn't able to build on her promising start in Australia, falling to Alicia Parks in the opening round. Eala came out strong, taking the first set 6-0, but couldn't maintain her momentum and dropped the next two sets 6-3, 6-2. Even in defeat, there were positives for Eala. One clear highlight was the strong backing she had from the stands. Court 6 filled up with fans eager to watch Eala play. Queues formed outside and Filipino flags were everywhere you looked. Andy Roddick impressed by Alexandra Eala's popularity. Alexandra Eala's following has even caught the attention of former world number 1 Andy Roddick, who spoke about it on the Served podcast. You look at the views on her press conferences versus the top stars in the world, she has a massive following in the Philippines. It's crazy impressive, and it's something that tournaments are going to have to pay attention to, he said. Didn't work out, Parks won, great win for her, but this is the type of story you cheer for because it's great for tennis. Eala's pre-tournament media session polled in 178,000 YouTube views, more than any other player at the event. That includes bigger names like Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner and Coco Gauff. IGA Swiatek spoke earlier this week about how Eala might be one of the most popular players on tour right now. Alexandra Eala exits Australian Open with doubles defeat. Alexandra Eala's 2026 Australian Open run has come to an end after a first-round loss in the women's doubles. Eala and Ingrid Guimara Martins were beaten by Magda Linette and Shuko Aoyama, 7-6, 2-6, 6-3. The victory sets up a second-round match for Linette and Aoyama against either Rebecca Sramkova and Linda Noskova or Asia Mohammed and Erin Routliffe. With her Australian Open journey complete, Eala now has the chance to participate in the inaugural WTA 125 Philippine Women's Open back home in Manila. Read more. Coco Gauff reveals what happened when she was challenged to a race by Tyler, the creator. Crazy impressive, Andy Roddick, Alexandra Eala, and the art of losing forward. The scoreboard never tells the whole story. It flashes its cold arithmetic, sets won, games lost, exits confirmed, and then it moves on. Tennis, however, has always lived in the margins beyond numbers, in footwork that arrives a fraction early, in decisions made under pressure, in courage that shows up even when the match slips away. It was in that space, just beyond the final result of Alexandra Eala's Australian Open exit, that Andy Roddick found something he called crazy impressive. At first glance, the phrase feels casual, almost offhand, the kind of language a former world number 1 might use on a podcast or a broadcast desk. But Roddick has never been careless with praise. He knows how rare it is. He knows what it costs. And most of all, he knows what it looks like when a young player loses a match but wins something far more important. Alexandra Eala did not leave Melbourne with a trophy. She left with something subtler and arguably more valuable at this stage of her career, proof. The exit that wasn't an ending. For many young players, a Grand Slam exit is a wall. The lights feel too bright, the pace too fast, the margin for error too cruel. You shake hands, pack your bags, and carry home a quiet doubt. Do I really belong here? Eala's exit felt different. Watching her, Roddick didn't see a teenager overwhelmed by the moment. He saw a player engaging with it, problem-solving in real time, absorbing pressure instead of recoiling from it. That, he suggested, was the crazy impressive part. Not that she won every rally, but that she understood why she lost the ones she did. In tennis, that awareness is gold. Composure beyond the birth certificate. Age in tennis is a strange illusion. The tour doesn't care how old you are, it only cares how well you execute. Still, experience usually announces itself in body language. Veterans manage chaos differently. They don't rush points when momentum swings. They don't panic when plan A fails. Roddick noticed that Eala, despite her youth, carried herself with that same internal calm. After missed chances, she reset quickly. After setbacks, she didn't unravel. Her face told a story of engagement, not discouragement. That kind of composure cannot be coached overnight. It's built from countless hours of intentional practice and from a mindset that treats matches as conversations rather than verdicts. You try something. The opponent responds. You adjust. Eala adjusted. Technique is common. Timing is rare. Plenty of young players arrive on the big stage with clean strokes. Modern tennis academies produce technically sound athletes at a breathtaking rate. What separates prospects from contenders is not whether they can hit the ball, it's when they choose to hit it a certain way. Roddick, who built a career on timing as much as power, recognized this immediately. Eala didn't just swing freely, she chose her moments. She mixed height and pace. She understood when to absorb and when to accelerate. That's not instinct alone. That's tennis IQ. And tennis IQ, once revealed, tends to compound quickly. The courage to play your game while losing. Perhaps the most impressive thing Roddick hinted at was Eala's refusal to shrink. Many players, when they sense a match slipping away, abandon their identity. They push instead of swing. They aim instead of play. Eala didn't. Even as the Australian Open door began to close, she kept taking the kind of risks that define her game, not reckless ones, but honest ones. She trusted the patterns that got her there. She believed that long-term growth mattered more than short-term survival. That is a brutal choice. It often leads to losses before it leads to wins. But it is also the only path to becoming dangerous at the highest level. Roddick has seen that movie before. He knows how it ends. Pressure as a teacher, not a threat. What separates good careers from great ones is how players interpret pressure. Some experience it as exposure, proof that they're not ready. Others experience it as information. Eala treated pressure like a syllabus. Each big point, each break opportunity, each missed forehand became data. She didn't hide from those moments. She leaned into them. Roddick saw a player who was already learning how to learn on the biggest stage in tennis. That's rare. And it's why former champions pay attention. The loss that builds a future. There is a particular kind of loss that accelerates a career. It's not a blowout, and it's not a heartbreak either. It's the kind where you walk off knowing exactly what you need to work on, and believing deeply that you can. Eala's Australian Open exit lived in that category. Roddick's praise wasn't about hype or potential in the abstract. It was about trajectory. About the visible alignment between skill, mentality, and ambition. About a player whose ceiling wasn't speculative, it was already peeking through the cracks. Why crazy impressive matters. When Andy Roddick calls something crazy impressive, he's not just complimenting a performance. He's signaling recognition from one generation to the next. He's saying, I know what this takes, and I see you doing it. Alexandra Eala didn't advance in the draw that day. But she advanced in the more important sense. She showed that she belongs in the conversation, not someday, but now. The scoreboard may have moved on. Tennis fans and tennis minds like Roddick's have not.